November 2013 brought the new releases of the two major players in the video game console marketplace.
Xbox One.
The much anticipated successors of the Xbox 360 and the PS3 hit the shelves running with record-breaking sales. The most interesting story, however, is which console outshines the other. It is impossible, though, to come to a definitive conclusion of which one is better. After all, it's going to be playing practically the same games, and there are many features exclusive to each console. Starting with the Xbox One, which was released on the 22nd of November 2013, it didn't have the best launch they could have hoped for. Partly due to their messed up and confused run-up to the launch, consumers were left baffled as to what the console actually did. Firstly, the console's digital vision was unclear, with some executives stating that the console needed an online check-in once every 24 hours, and others mentioning completely different time periods. Then some executives claimed that you would only be able to sell used games for a fee, and others said it was completely free. It's just stupid.
Xbox One.
So all this confusion just made consumers look to the alternative, the PlayStation 4, and I don't blame them. So, the hardware specifications for the Xbox One. Comes with a custom 1.75 GHz AMD 8-core APU with two quad-core Jaguar modules, 8GB of DDR3 RAM with 5GB available to games, and 500GB internal hard drive, pretty small. For the graphics, 853MHz AMD Radeon with GCN architecture, and it supports 4K 1080p and 720p displays. For the ports on the back, you've got your power supply input, HDMI out, your S/PDIF port, which is for your sound systems, HDMI in, two USB 3.0 ports, your Connect input, IR out for infrared, and your Ethernet port. The PlayStation 4 was more successful at launch, aiming primarily at gamers, which is something Microsoft really missed. Marketing their consoles as a more family-friendly all-in-one box that supports TV input, including their built-in TV guide app. Sony smashed their sales targets and passed the 10 million mark less than 9 months into its life cycle, leaving the Xbox One for dead, achieving just over 5 million in that time period. The PlayStation 4 specifications are really similar to the Xbox One. It's got a semi-custom 8-core AMD Jaguar CPU. For its RAM, it's got GDDR5 RAM and 8 gigs worth. The hard drive again is only 500 gig, but both consoles are able to be upgraded via an external drive. The graphics come from an AMD GCN Radeon similar to the Xbox One. The display support is also the same with 4K 1080p and 720p display support. For the ports on the back of the PS4, you've got the power supply input at the bottom, an optical port, the HDMI port, an Ethernet port, and an AUX port, and that's for the PlayStation camera. No, I don't have one either. The PS4 also has two USB 3.0 ports at the front. The big noticeable difference between the two consoles is Sony's choice of RAM. Both consoles have 8GB, but Sony opted for DDR5 over Microsoft's DDR3. And this is a huge noticeable difference between the two. Overall, the Xbox just feels a bit slow for tasks like operating through the extensive menus, which begins to feel a bit tedious when you just want to invite your friend to a game. I have noticed though, through updates, the Xbox One has become noticeably faster, making the console as a whole a lot more responsive. The controllers have also been completely redone for the new consoles. On the Xbox One controller there has been a number of improvements, including haptic feedback in the triggers, redesigned thumbsticks and an all-new D-pad. For the PlayStation controller, the main noticeable difference is a touchpad going across the face of the controller. This is an interesting addition, but hasn't really been used to its potential by game developers and seems to be a bit of a gimmick. The second addition is a light bar at the back of the controller. In most games and menus it will glow blue, but some developers utilise this feature to create an ambience to match their game by making it glow different colours. But a lot of people have complained about this feature, however, because it's distracting, so you can turn off this feature in the system settings. Both controllers are a huge step up from the previous generation. The PlayStation controller no longer feels cheap, and the Xbox controller has just taken everything that worked on the 360 controller and made it a lot better. One of the big factors to consider when buying one of the new consoles is the platform exclusives. Both lineups for the two consoles have been great, but both have their pitfalls. The typical show off the console's new graphical power games have shown up on both, with Rise Son of Rome for the Xbox One and The Order 1886 for the PS4, both disappointing games. Both platforms have their fair share of standout games though. Bloodborne has been a huge hit for the PS4, but personally I think it's because people just love staring at the "You Died" screen. The Last of Us has been remastered on the PS4 and it's as good as ever. Even if you played it on the PS3 you need to revisit it in 60 frames per second. The Xbox One now has 2 builds of its Forza series on its new console, Forza Motorsport 5 and Horizon 2. Both games don't disappoint. My personal favourite, Forza Horizon 2, gives you all the realistic driving feel of Forza Motorsport 5 but with the freedom of an open road instead of a racetrack. The Halo Master Chief Collection built a lot of hype. Developers 343 Industries have brought together the Halo games 1 to 4 and put them together in one big bundle remastered for the Xbox One. But as you can see, 2 of these games on the list are remastered version of what's already out. This seems to have been a trend for this generation of console, and expect a lot more, with rumours of the Gears of War series to be given the next gen sparkle. Into the future though, both consoles have some promising games planned. This year alone we'll see some amazing titles such as the instalment into the Batman Arkham series, a sequel to the Tomb Raider reboot, Project Cars, Halo 5, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and many more. If you didn't pick up one of these fresh new consoles at launch, now is definitely the time to take the plunge. Deciding as to which one to go for, however, is actually quite difficult. For me, the Xbox One was my console of choice. I love the library of games and I just prefer the user experience on the Xbox. The operating system is just a different build of Windows and is set to get a huge update come the release of Windows 10. However, I do wish Microsoft spent more time on really creating the console that gamers sorely wanted, and not to try and create some stupid TV hybrid machine. Oh, and Kinect. We don't even need to go there. The PS4 is also a truly fantastic console, and it is the one most gamers have opted for. Games run smooth in 1080p with 60 frames per second, and Sony really nailed it when marketing at gamers. To me, it looks as if Sony spotted Microsoft's mistake early on and ensured gamers this is the console for them. The slogan, "For the players," says it all.